Hi everybody, this is Diana in LA and Cary in the UK, and we're here to talk about this week's stars. Welcome to our weekly reading where we explore all things astrological. From our two different points of view in two different locations in the world, we bring to you a unique astrological perspective on what is happening right now across the globe. So here we go. There's a lot going on, as always, up there. And if you look up, you can see tonight is a full moon. We're actually in a full moon right now. And so we have that intensifying energy of the moon in Virgo, full at 8 degrees 50, opposing the sun in Pisces, right? So we have this very powerful polarity of the full moon. And that always accentuates and highlights everything. In fact, this is the week of the moon. And you will hear more about that as we go along, as the moon is beautifully lighting up the sky all week long. The other big news is that Mars is moving into Gemini, yay! Out of Taurus, where it has been for such a long time, squaring Saturn, squaring all kinds of planets for the last long while, and it's finally moved into a new sign, and so the energy is really going to be noticeably shifting from the plodding energy of Mars in Taurus to the moving energy, the fast-moving energy of Mars in Gemini. So, Cary, how's it looking from your side of the world?
Well, hi everybody. Hope you're all well. It is the week of the moon, and there's some wonderful aspects coming up this week. And it starts on Sunday, where the moon forms a grand trine with Mars and Pluto, and that's all in Earth. The next day, it creates a trine between Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn. So that is a really nice start to the week. And as the week progresses, Mercury goes nearer and nearer to Jupiter, where eventually it becomes conjunct exact. I think it's on Friday. That is a wonderful aspect. And the fact that Mars has gone into Gemini, another air sign, is another lovely start of something very nice about to happen, because Mars will start trining as it moves those planets. It will start with Saturn, then it will be with Jupiter. So over the next few weeks, be aware of that, because it's going to be a shift, and it's going to be very noticeable, and there'll be lots of energy in the air. So it's a real nice week compared to some of the challenging weeks that we've had. You've still got the Saturn square Uranus in the background, but you've got these wonderful aspects, especially by the moon. So a great week for everyone, and people should feel good in themselves and good about issues which are important to them.
Right, and so one of the things we've been talking about week after week has been the difficulty of communications and all of this stuck energy as communications have been hard and arguing and difficult and challenging. And now Mercury's conjuncting Jupiter in Aquarius. It's the opposite of that. It is freewheeling, open, funny, humor is coming back, thank God, right? That we get to finally have our sense of humors back, and the brilliant intelligence of Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Aquarius and Mars in Gemini. So again, more speed, more quick communication, more understanding, more bridging, more language. In a sense, it's like being able to speak several languages. We're open again, mentally and quick and aware and excited to communicate. And so it's such a good thing for us to be able to say something good finally after almost a year plus of really difficult, challenging communications.
I think it's a really nice time, and it's nice that we were able to speak about the week coming ahead being favourable, having nice energy. You know, the last 2 weeks in the UK, we all talk about the weather all the time over here. It's been snowing and windy and raining. And we've had sunshine today, and it's warm, and seeds are beginning to sprout. So
It's spring. And so it really is starting to feel like spring is coming. It's coming on to spring anyway. And on this full moon, one of the things I would advise and remind you about is, being that the moon is in Virgo, full moon's in Virgo, sun's in Pisces, the sun in Pisces is finishing off the cycle of the year. And March 20th around, we begin 0 degrees Aries, the beginning of the zodiacal year. And so Pisces is the ending of the zodiacal year. And it's interesting to think of that, like, what are you ready to put down? What are we finished with? One of the things I've been talking about in my full moon meditations is that from 0 Pisces to the end of 29 Pisces, as we are coming to it this month, is pretty much the whole cycle of COVID. Right? And that's a good thing to put down for this new coming year when we hit 0 degrees Aries and start off that new year again. So another thing to consider with the full moon, while we're finishing off this year in a conscious way, and I always teach that, to put things, when we're finished, to put things down consciously, not throw them away, but to put them down with awareness and gratitude for all that we've learned from it. And as we are touching now this big full moon in Virgo, it really is about personal self-care, about our health, about our mental health, about our physical health, and to take care of ourselves. And how better can you take care of yourself this whole month? Because that full moon influences the whole month, full moon to full moon. And so how better can, ask yourself this, how better can I take care of myself during the ending of this zodiacal year, to put it down consciously and appreciate, what did I learn this year? What did I gain? What came forth to me? What did I newly understand? Because we're going to start to move again. You're going to really feel it. It's like we're going to be going zippy fast as we enter this new week at this full moon.
as the sun progresses through Pisces, bear in mind Neptune's there as well. And it's been in Pisces for quite a while. As the sun moves towards Neptune, there's going to be a very idealistic feel to how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world, how you feel about just about everything. So we're actually heading for a really pleasant time.
Yeah, and I want to say almost like a Renaissance time. Like, it's like coming out of the cave if you're a bear and you've been hibernating for 6 months and you come out and it's beautiful outside. It's like we're all coming out of our houses little by little. And even though there's still this Saturn square Uranus aspect that we are still in and is there for some months more, it's going to feel like a renewal, a time of refresh and spring in our step and in our thinking and in our hopefulness, and feeling like a new world is beginning with, especially like you just said, that sun conjuncting Neptune, when that happens, which we're 2 weeks away from. It's going to really be inspired.
That's right. And as Mars moves on, and progresses through Gemini, when the moon eventually, weekly goes into Libra, at that point it will be creating grand trines. So the moon is actually very important, because the planets at the moment are very stuck together and they're not really moving the major planets are not really moving that far. It takes a long time for them to transit. So as the moon goes around, when all these planets are kind of compact together in a certain area of the chart, there's hardly any oppositions, but the only effect that happens is when the moon is doing its orbit. So as Mars progresses through Gemini and the moon goes into Libra, moon will cause grand trine with Mars and Saturn, for example. So the way the moon is moving at the moment has very profound effects on the way that we feel. So if you take into consideration this week, it starts off with a grand trine in Earth, and then it goes into a massive air trine between Mercury, Jupiter and Saturn. And then later on in the week, it trines Neptune. So you've got that really nice feel around.
It reminds me of when you're going to play a game of pool and all the balls are stacked up, and then you take your cue and you hit into that and you open up all the table, right? And the bigger the hit, the more the balls move around the table. There's more options, there's more possibilities. And we have been so constrained by the stelliums that have been happening for the whole year, last year and this, that things have been pretty fixed. And that is why we have felt so constrained by, in our lives, in so many different kinds of ways, because literally that's what's been happening in the sky. And now the moon is going click, and it's opening up the pattern a little bit, and so we can have some new kinds of experiences. And boy, it's going to feel really noticeable this week.
With the transit of Venus, at the moment, Venus is starting to sextile, which is half a trine, which is a really nice aspect, Uranus. So although you've got the square of Saturn to Uranus, which has a 1 degree difference at the moment, over the next week, Venus is starting to move, and it alleviates that by sextiling Uranus. So you've got Venus in Pisces, which is exalted, sextiling Uranus, which rules those 3 planets in the stellium. So you're going to feel it, and it's going to feel different to the way that you've been feeling. And it'll be like this for the next few weeks.
Yeah, what a relief. And the only day that there's anything that I'm even seeing that you need to sort of, except for, of course, the constant Saturn square Uranus, which is ongoing because we're still in it, is Friday maybe, when Moon opposes Mars, squaring Venus, Sun, and Neptune. That might be a little bit tougher of a day, but still, even if it is, it's the Moon, so it's quick. And meanwhile, Jupiter and Mercury conjunct in Aquarius, Mars has moved into Gemini. I really feel like the air signs are going to be really happy this week.
Yeah, they will be happy, but there's one day they might not be that happy, which will be on Wednesday, but there's some really nice aspects going on at the same time. The Moon actually forms a T-square between Uranus and Saturn. So that's the only challenge during the week, but that's offset by Mercury conjunct Jupiter and Mars trine Pluto. So when you look at that as a whole, as an overview, it's not as bad as it could be. Because if there was a T-square with the Moon and there was planets squaring Jupiter, planets squaring Mars, planets squaring Saturn, it would be a real troubling day, but it's not going to be as bad. It's going to be a fleeting moment. But it's still a significant transit on Wednesday.
So that's it for now for this week's Astrocast. And if you're enjoying these, we hope you will share, subscribe, and tell your friends. And we'll see you next week.
Have a lovely week, everybody, and stay safe. Take care.